Support Amanda.
I'm okay.
Girl, I had you.
Lisa warned me.
Don't have Andy.
You want to try and get him?
Text him he can.
He should be able to get back in.
But the meeting has started. So,
Oh,
oh, there he is. Okay.
Yeah.
He's there. Okay. All right, we're good to go.
All right. So it is 7:26. We have returned from our 30-minute executive session with no extensions, and we are back on the record in open session. So thank you very much. That brings us to our action items for our first reading. Do I have any motions, do I have any interest from the council in potentially moving item G, which is the Urban Water District number 6, the request to purchase wholesale water, to the top of the queue, as we have a couple gentlemen here from Irvin, one who I think would like to speak.
I will make a motion to move item G, Urban Water District number 6, request to purchase wholesale water, to item A1 under section 8.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Alright, so we have moved the Urban Water District number 6, request to purchase wholesale water to the top of the queue. So, Mr. Worst, would you like to introduce this, or would you like me to?
Go ahead. I think if we've got a couple representatives from Urban Water District, the manager as well as their legal counsel present, if they'd like to come up and as the mayor mentioned, the city did receive a request from the water district to explore or the possibility of a wholesale water agreement consistent with the city's ordinance that was adopted earlier this year. I think we received a draft agreement, but deal points still remain to be kind of negotiated and figured out. But we did ask the gentleman to be come before you, make the request, and answer any questions of the council. Just kind of a general understanding of what's driving this for them and how it might be mutually beneficial for both agencies.
So we have here at the podium Aaron Dunham, who is Urban Water District's counsel, and then we have Bob Cunningham, their district manager. And so I would invite either one of you to begin.
All right, well, I guess I can start off. I'm Aaron Dunham. I'm an attorney at WHC Attorneys. I represent Urban Water District. Thank you for taking the time to consider the letter that I sent to Mr. Worst. Really, what's going on is, Urban is a water district. It is another municipality. It is not a city or a town, but it is a water district under RCW 57. It is a governmental entity. It has its own elected board, and they are trying to manage their resources to serve their public. It just neighbors Millwood, so it's a municipality like you guys. It's a water utility like you, and it's a neighbor. And what's going on with Urban is that they've been in a moratorium for a little over 2 years on new connections. If you see any new construction over there, it's because they fit into very narrow exceptions to the moratorium, most of which are that they were issued certificates of water availability pre-moratorium. And without getting into the details of the actual moratorium, it is just really a crunch on their ability to serve their current residents. And what Urban is finding is that it's not a matter of their ability to actually pump water out of the ground. They have sufficient wells, reservoirs, they have sufficient infrastructure that if they have the right to pump water out of the ground, they could serve their growing population, they could serve their existing customers because they are exceeding their paper water rates. And so really the request at this time is more or less to give your staff, your mayor, your legal counsel, your engineer authority to go and try to come to terms on a proposed agreement through an interlocal agreement for the wholesale water, with the idea being that Urban would become a customer under the wholesale water ordinance that Millwood adopted earlier this year to purchase wholesale water from Millwood. And so that then would allow them to approve new connections because they would have a source of water that they would have to actually purchase from Millwood as opposed to pumping out of their own grounded. So what I had attached was a form with an interlocal agreement, but I think your council has said it well, and your mayor as well, that there's a lot of blanks to be filled in, and it's because we don't know exactly what it's gonna cost Millwood, so it's pricing, all that, but this is more just to get the ball rolling. So it's not as though we're asking people to say, hey, yeah, here's an agreement right today. It's more about going forward and trying to help Irvin with the issue that it is facing. So I'm happy to take any questions. Got Bob here as well, the manager of the district, if there's any questions. But that is really where we're at today.
I would just add to that, you know, definitely a desire on Irvin's part to, you know, get water, help his district as well. The flip side of the city is we have paper water rights, and we have water that's available under those paper water rights that can be put to use. To be clear for everybody here, this agreement that's being asked of the city is not selling, transferring, conveying, or putting those paper water rights in the name of or control of, or they're still under the city's control and ownership. As much as you own a water right, ultimately the state owns that probably, but it's putting water to use for a neighboring jurisdiction. And I think, maybe I'm not trying to steal Amanda's thunder, but you know, we have been looking at various concepts within the planning, our zoning code, our growth management act requirements, comprehensive plan. You need water to build residences or to otherwise serve, and that's not, Irvin doesn't have that, and we're seeing the demands that are being put on the city for creating housing opportunities as well, so.
So while we have Aaron and Bob here, does council have any direct questions for them?
So it's my understanding today what is being asked is just that we open up the discussion and that there's no agreement here, but just that we're saying, yeah, we're interested in having the discussion and ironing out those details.
Exactly. We're not looking for you to commit to, here's the amount of water that we will sell through wholesale. I have laid out in that letter what Irvin would like to obtain, because they are looking, like you guys, you just had Welchcomer here earlier talking about your water system plan. Irvin's looking at its future growth and detailing out in 20 years what are they going to need. And so, without getting into the specifics, it's looking at 800 acre feet, whether that's finding water rights from somewhere or entering into a wholesale arrangement. They need to find a source to serve their population. So, but you are correct. There isn't a specific, here's the form. I mean, there's a form, but there's so many blanks in it. It's more about, are you okay with your staff going forward and exploring this so that we can come back in the future months with a more detailed, here's how it would work. So you have another read on that and a vote on whether or not to approve.
So I think the thing that it is, at least on the Millwood side, is that the city would like to have direction or authorization, not authorization might be too strong of a word, but at least a sense that it is proper for the city to begin looking at exploring a wholesale water agreement with Irvin, because we have had a number of comments regarding brokering water. And so I do want to make sure that, in open session, that council is comfortable with the idea of exploring the possibility of an agreement to do this with Irvin.
May I give a feedback?
Sure.
So I'm definitely open, I mean, we've had this discussion for a long time moving forward with wholesaling. I would like it to be though subject to whatever you guys all discuss and, as things are being ironed out, that it's still subject to the two-touch. So that whatever is agreed upon isn't just brought back and then, oh, by the way, there's an actual vote. Because we have a two-touch so the public can actually digest the details of it. And we can digest the details and then come back and ask refining questions if we have. And so I wouldn't want to have this be perceived as the first touch of whatever the final is, because we would need a time to actually sit with the details that you all discover together.
Yeah, I think the goal would be to spend some time to fill in any blanks, details, or items to be completed, coming back to you in November, which would be, first touch of that process. And then go from there if it's, assuming it's in a final form without questions or concerns, coming back for a second touch in December at that point. That'd be the goal, but the parties really kind of put it on hold at this point just to make sure that there was a comfort level in the concept of moving forward, so.
Dan?
I have a question for Amanda. Millwood has a little bit of flexibility on how we address the growth management stuff. Urban doesn't have that flexibility. They're relying on the county to say, here's what you need to have available. Am I making sense there?
Yeah, I think you serve cities, Spokane Valley and Millwood, is that correct?
Correct, so it's the city of Spokane Valley primarily, but you are correct.
Okay, yeah.
Services in Millwood, Bob, as well?
No, we
Just
serve Butler, you guys serve
Just
one
on
side, we serve.
yeah.
Okay, that's
So city of Spokane Valley, I'm sorry, I apologize with that. So, where is the city of Spokane Valley, how can you do your water system plan without knowing what that Spokane Valley is going to expect, require, demand, from a land use standpoint, which you can interpret into the gallons per minute standpoint?
Well, I would say that the city of Spokane Valley's already set their zoning standards for within where urban serves. And the problem is that urban has already hit that cap, and that's why we're at a moratorium. So the city of Spokane Valley has already dictated, like, this is where, the lot size and density requirements of what urban is in. It's just that we've already hit the cap, and so without.
But won't that change, because when's their last comp plan?
So I guess that's a fair point, that if the city of Spokane Valley, when they do update their comp plan, I don't know that off the top of my head, they could potentially try to change density requirements in there, but.
So perhaps one of the things for consideration is, we know what today's Spokane Valley plan is, and Mr. Hagerty can interpret those into EIUs or acre feet or whatever, so we have something to bend on there, but in real life, we may need a second agreement or a modified agreement down the road someplace when that land use changes.
That's correct, and I think it is a very fair point that urban does not control setting the density requirements. And so they've kind of been thrust into this position through both state changes to density requirements and the city of Spokane Valley changes. So it's a predicament that is not necessarily their fault, it's outside forces on growth.
And your expectations now are based on the current zoning density and use requirements set by Spokane. And that's all you can plan on at this point.
Yeah, that's my understanding what Tom Haggerty, who is the engineer for urban, has based that upon, but.
They are, City of the Valley is in the same time frame horizon that we are in. All of Spokane County needs to be done. So they are busily working on their comp plans. But even if they held off, even if City of Spokane Valley came in and even if we held off until we said, oh, we're gonna wait until Spokane Valley's comp plan is final, you still have to wait for what Olympia is going to say is going to be acceptable. And so I think it's much more of an adaptive management type of strategy, leave ability to modify the agreements if there's necessary, things like that, because so much of the growth is beyond a water district, and now it's even beyond the municipality or even the county. It goes back to Olympia.
And that was the point.
Yes.
My trying to explain whatever we do now, based on what we've got today, we need to have the ability to change, and anticipate a change, down the road.
I think a framework that is worked on as part of an agreement not only would discuss rates and volumes, but would discuss mechanisms if there are requests for a need for additional service, things like that. It's not just a boilerplate that, we promise to buy X number of gallons and we'll pay you this much money, signed Irvin, and then we sign it. I mean, the easiest way to figure out how much land is gonna be developed in Spokane Valley is to drive around, count up all the lots and divide it by 2. And that's what you're gonna end up developed over there, because have they ever not given a will serve letter out? Yeah. So I don't think.
So
What?
Kevin, are you looking for authorization for staff to go into talks and inner workings with other PUDs or water?
Specifically urban, it sounds like.
Yeah, I just think
Irvin's the only water
I think
provider that is
I would
showing any
be it
interest
would
at this
be
point.
to allow these talks to take place and get ahead of the ball.
I think that's fine. It's just, all we're having is just a litmus of whether we need a vote or not. We don't need a vote, but it looks like from the council members here that there is a consensus that it is agreed that the city can go forward with Irvin and begin these sorts of negotiations and workings, and the city and Irvin can work together on bringing back the next round of agreement that has less blanks in it, and we can bring that back to council and go forward from there.
That would start the.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
a council member that's sitting by himself in a hotel room in Yuma, Oregon, I would.
No, he's just down there putting concrete on the dam.
I'm not. I'm
Well,
expecting
I
a
think
million.
it's the council's general consensus to further evaluate, a relationship with the Urban Water District to wholesale water.
Well, I will put Aaron on speed dial, and we'll be chatting here a bit.
Okay.
And just to add another comment to jump off of what Brian said earlier about Broadlink, I'm also one of the good guys when it comes to.
Yeah.
I've worked with Brian before with different municipalities.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
We'll just take your word on it.
There's a small group of attorneys that call themselves municipal attorneys, and Aaron is fortunate, and we're fortunate that he's part of that group as well. So yeah.
Awesome. So we will. We'll begin a process. Matt can begin talking to Bob, and then we can get engineers going and kind of go from there.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming
Thanks for
out.
coming.
All right. So that takes care of item G. So now we will leap into item A, which is a public hearing on the comprehensive plan periodic update and introduction of the following, which is ordinance 551, amending Millwood Municipal Code section 140410. Amanda, would you like to begin this?
Yes, after 13 months, we are approaching the finish line here. Well, for the comp plan portion at least. So, go ahead and go to the next slide. So, the Growth Management Act, as you all know, requires the City of Millwood to enact a comp plan, review it, and revise it if necessary, as well as the development regulations periodically, which now, starting this cycle, is every 10 years. That's to ensure it complies with the requirements of the Growth Management Act. Updates to the City of Millwood Comprehensive Plan must be consistent with the countywide planning policies for Spokane County, as amended, and must plan to accommodate the urban growth projected to occur within the next 20 years, as well as the city's housing allocation. The Washington State Department of Commerce provided our periodic update checklist for cities. We have gone through that for this update. The City of Millwood completed it, and we know which elements need to be revised, reviewed, and updated. Millwood also prepared, as we talked about last year, the land capacity analysis consistent with the countywide planning policies, as well as the racially disparate impacts analysis, and updates to the housing element consistent with the guidance provided by Commerce for Tier 1 cities. None of this should be a surprise. Millwood's 2026 Comprehensive Plan Periodic Update process followed the public participation and work plans that you all adopted last year, and provided extensive public participation opportunities consistent with these plans as identified in the staff report to the Planning Commission. The proposed updated comprehensive plan was reviewed for consistency with Washington state law as well as internally. And the 2026 comprehensive plan periodic update is complete, with the exception of the climate change and resiliency element, which we are still coordinating with Spokane County and is planned to be completed in 2026. So, who was involved over the past 13 months? Pretty much everybody. We did the survey, of course. We met with stakeholders and citizen groups, individual citizens, the staff, council, planning commission, Millwood engineer, utility and service providers, the adjacent jurisdictions, Phelps Field and Tribes all received notice throughout the process. The SEPA reviewing agencies, Commerce, of course, other public agencies, and then we had the brand new periodic update notice list that you see me put a sign-up sheet out every time, and so we have several folks that added to that. We did publications, postings, the Millwood Days booths. I actually forgot we had the newsletters too, and the Washington State 60-day review requirements for state agencies, in addition to the webpage staying updated this whole time. All this participation and comments were incorporated into the August 28th version that the Planning Commission made their recommendation on. We are at the tail end of the 60-day review process. I had the opportunity to meet with Fish and Wildlife last week. There will be a few red line comments that I'll be bringing forth at the November public hearing for potential incorporation. And then we are still waiting on comments from Washington Department of Commerce, but the deadline is October 27th, so we'll have everything wrapped up by the next public hearing. So the Planning Commission reviewed the staff report that we issued back on August 16th. They held the property notice public hearing, and I apologize, I had a typo here. The last hearing was Wednesday, September 24th, 2025, where they voted 5-0 to recommend approval of the comprehensive plan periodic update with modifications to the City Council. The findings were a minor modification, and it's on page 206. It was to do a rewrite to the first paragraph. They basically wanted to put it back on Welch-Comer that we weren't meeting our reduction assumptions. So that was the only thing that came out for a modification. And tonight is our first public hearing and first read of the ordinance. As I said, October 27th will be the deadline for the 60-day review. I will get everything compiled and present it to Planning Commission the next day. Get some feedback from them and bring it all back to you on November 12th for your second public hearing and anticipated second read. For the action item, it would be to approve, disapprove, or modify. I anticipate it will be a modification based on some red lines, at least from Fish and Wildlife, or refer everything back to the Planning Commission. Hopefully not. You've seen this slide many times, but you can see we're at the tail end for the comp plan portion at least, with anticipated adoption November, December. We are the first jurisdiction for Spokane County to be at this point. So we're kind of setting the bar. Go ahead. And do we have any questions?
Congratulations on being first.
So this modification that they had on page 206, can we modify that again potentially?
Yeah.
Okay. I would suggest that instead of laying it on anybody, we can just capitalize the T, drop the according to Welch-Comer, and just say the city did not meet their goal. I think we don't need to drag that around.
Yeah. And that's totally up to City Council.
Yeah, that would be my only modification. It sounds petty. So that would be it. So questions for Amanda?
And the entire comp plan, if you need to be put to sleep with the appendix, is available in the link for the packet that Lisa provided.
And I did want to comment, I did not print that for y'all, but I can. If you would like a printed copy, just let me know and I will print one, but the link is there or if you don't, so let me know.
I heard from a resident that our board packets were 500 and some odd pages big this month. I'm like, what? Maybe I didn't get it right.
The Planning Commission literally went through page by page in this comp plan up to the last minute and read everything, I believe. So
Yeah, this one I think was 523, the full one, if you would have gotten the full one, so.
Thank you for not paging it.
You're welcome.
So any other questions for Amanda from council before we open the public hearing? So at this time, it is 7:51 PM and I will open the public hearing. Do we have anybody signed up for comments on the comp plan or remarks on the comp plan? Testimony, actually the hearing is testimony. So, would anybody in the audience like to make testimony tonight regarding the comprehensive plan update? Second call. Third and final call. So, have I drug it out enough? Yeah, so, when did we open it? 7:51? Okay.
7:52, we close it.
We're still 7:51. We're gonna close it at 7:52. And at that point, the public hearing portion of this is closed. And so we will be seeing potentially a redlined amendment with some comment or a redlined version comments from Fish and Wildlife coming back to council for consideration at the next regular meeting. Excellent. So now that brings us to action item B, which is the public hearing identifying the 2026 revenue sources and the introduction of the following. Resolution 2025-11 certifying the property tax levy per RCW 845520 and Resolution 2025-12, the 2026 property tax levy certification per RCW 84522020. Before we get into that, could you bring up that little PowerPoint that I gave you? So, just want to why is this coming forth? It comes forth every time of the year, but one of the metrics in this is why are we bringing the 1% property tax levy increase before the council? The majority of it just has to do basically with our inflation-driven cost increases. Prices for materials and services are increasing significantly. So how do we know that? In this state, we use two measures. We use our first is the Consumer Price Index. The CPI is a measure of the average change over time and the prices paid by urban consumers for a market basket of consumer goods and services. Index are available for U.S. and various geographic areas. The city relies primarily, and most of the state for smaller cities rely on the CPI-U, which is the CPI urban, the West region, B and C, which are the Western U.S. urban B and C size cities, of which Spokane is a B and C size city. Next slide, please. So what you see from 2020 to 2024 is inflation really spiked to about a 12-month percentage change of up to 8% in 2022, and has been coming back down, but is still running greater than 2% inflation year over year. And we are still, we still, those prices, that's the rate of inflation. That's not the prices. The prices are what the prices are. The prices have continued to do this. Yeah, it's not going up quite like that, but we have had spikes of up to 8% in the inflation rate. Next slide, please. The other that we use in Washington is the implicit price deflator for Washington State, and that is a different measure of inflation, which is for personal consumption and expenditures. It's not done by the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, it's done by the Bureau of Economic Analysis, and what it does is it uses periodic quantities as weights rather than some fixed bundle. The current personal consumption is measured in today's prices and then compared to current personal prices from a base year. Next slide, please. So prices are now being measured from right around the 2020 base year. And what is going on is basically, you can see on that side of the 2020 baseline that the current IPD is now running about 2.44% year over year. Some people think CPI is better, some people think IPD is better, but the long and the short of it is prices are going up around us by 2%. And so our stuff just gets, anytime we go out to do anything, and that doesn't necessarily mean projects that we can delay, that means things like electricity, fuel, supplies, things we need just to make the city run on a daily basis. Those rates, those prices continue to go up at a rate of greater than 2% year over year. So that is why the city approaches the council to consider a 1% property tax rate increase from, in order to offset, because we're still gonna be behind on price increases, things like that, from just the daily business of doing the city. So people are like, why come and ask for a property tax increase? It's because we have a baseline of revenue, and I think Dave's gonna speak to some of what this revenue looks like here in a minute, but I just kinda wanna give the fundamental of, it's not just we need more money, it's that basically the prices go up, and in order to keep pace with getting things done, we need to make sure that we are adding the minimum of what we can add to the budget in order to try and offset those order to have additional revenue to make up for those price increases. So at this point, I've given enough background. I'd like to turn it over to Dave and have him launch into his work on property taxes and what we have and his dealings with the county and our potential sources.
And anybody feel free to correct me if I am incorrect. But there are statutory requirements to increasing property tax rates. One of them is the 1% levy lid lift. And I think that's the general basis of an increase in your levy. So you started the mayor suggested the other day that the process of doing this is a little Byzantine. I call it serpentine. I call it a circular reference on an Excel spreadsheet, but you take an actual amount of levy that has been collected, increase that by 1%. In the packet are is the complete worksheet from the Department of Revenue. I originally got it from the county, but they only gave me one page. Kevin provided me with the entire worksheet, and it goes through 4 different calculations. And I also provided a summary sheet, wiping out the stuff that doesn't count. So anyway, we uplift a prior year's actual rate, which is 2004. We get another uplift on estimated construction in the next year. So you're working with 24's actual levy and estimating 26's new construction. Are we circular yet? Which gives you a base and multiplied by your rate, which gives you a regular property tax limit. That number is a number. Currently it's what, 480,000-ish. Which then gives you take that one, you come up with this, you come up with that. Or you can take the every levy rate multiplied by your assessed value, which comes up with about twice as much, which you're not allowed to take statutorily. So that calculation was top notch in my estimation. So eventually what you end up coming, you take the 1% levy lift and you ask for, or you increase it by another 2%, the price, the IPD adds it, and the bottom line is that your levy rate for the year 2026 is about $10,000 more, $9,545.44, and that's the amount $486,817.28 that we are submitting to Spokane County. So that's a small amount of money. Another positive is as the assessed value goes up and you divide your levy by your assessed value, your actual levy rate went down, which the rate going down is good for people that their assessed value went up. I do not live in Millwood. I live in the city of Spokane. My assessed value went up and my levy rate went up. So, the two sheets, I think the second sheet, which I put together, I understand more. I summarized it so we can actually follow through. Also at the bottom, we give you some comparisons to what 2025 certification was. And so you've got a variety of information there, but the bottom line is the ordinance, the hearing is based on the 2026 levy certification of $486,817.28. Through all that calculation, that was a very entertaining exercise for somebody like me. To a point.
So, I wanna thank Dave for going through it, and as always, I am constantly amazed by the amount of things that you have to calculate that actually have no bearing on anything you are going to do as part of this exercise. It's strip the form down and just have you calculate what the 101% and just do that. Why the other stuff? Just to remind you what you don't get. I don't know what it is. This is like one of the most frustrating things you ever have to do sitting in this chair is look at this sheet and go, what was the process? But the long and the short of it is that if we were to take the 1% revenue or 1% levy, the 1% lift, we would generate from the city as a whole. So all commercial property, all residential property, we would generate an additional 95, 45, 44. So that is always welcome. I think Matt and Kyle would probably say that probably is not gonna help. It might cover the fuel cost, the difference.
9,400?
Yeah.
I almost wanna give you 9,400 just so we don't have to go through that presentation.
And so, it makes a difference always to the budget because it allows for services to go on. I think the biggest thing and when we read the paper and we look at things is if you don't take it, you lose it. And you look at places like City of Spokane Valley where they didn't even bother to bank, or they banked some of it, but they haven't banked all of it. And now they will have a significant budget deficit this year. And there's no way that even with the bank stuff, if they were to try and take the bank stuff, it would just be ridiculous. And they're still not gonna be able to come dig themselves out of the hole that has gone on through this process. It's better to kind of try and keep pace with things because we have to pay, the city has to pay what the prices are out there. So, at this point, I would say that you've seen the numbers. The number is calculated would be placed before you at the next meeting. Would be the 1% raising taxes as a total, generating an additional 9,545.44. One of the things that we still have to see this coming year on our assessments is how the reassessment of the mill is going to play out overall, and I'll be interested to see how that works. But I don't know what the county auditor has communicated back to us on that yet. And they never seem to communicate those sorts of things until the bitter end. And so Dave will continue to receive updates up until December. And so we will understand more as that goes through. Are there questions for Dave on calculations, on any of the mechanics, anything like that?
Yes. I add one small comment. When I come back in November, I'll have all the revenue sources. This exercise accounts for approximately 15% of your revenue. The other stuff you don't have to go ask permission for. This is the only thing, as far as I can tell, you have to. Statutorily ask permission, but it's only 15% of your revenue. Ish. I'll be back with charts and graphs next month for the full budget.
And then, yes, and then this is one part of setting the 2026 budget. So next month will be the first presentation on the 2026 budget. So at this time, if there are no questions for Dave, I will now open this public hearing up, which is the first public hearing on the identification of the revenue sources for 2026. Do we have anybody signed up for this one? No. So first call for testimony under the public hearing for revenue sources. Second call. Third and final call. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing at 8:07, and this will come back to the city at the council at the November meeting. So thank you very much. So now we come to item C, which is ordinance 549, a reduction of the speed limit on Argonne Road. Mr. Worst, would you like to kick this one off, please?
So I've got a huge Excel spreadsheet to present to you with this one as well.
I never even brought my spreadsheet.
No, this one can be very brief. A condition of the funding, I think, I had to go back and look at my emails on the last time I touched this. This had been briefed back in 2024 to the council, but a condition of the Argonne project funding from the Transportation Improvement Board was a speed limit set at 25 miles an hour on Argonne. The city has the authority to do that. What you do is you codify it in your city code, and we actually have under section 1010 of the code, we have certain school and park zones where we set speed limits. This would create a new chapter 1210. I will readily admit there's some quality control issues on the numbering in section 1. It should be under 1012. That'll be fixed when it comes back to you. And then the title of the first section is not school speed zone because that's the existing section. This would just be speed limit of 25 miles an hour. This was drafted because of the Argonne requirements, but it's been drafted to also allow the city to come back and modify it and include in future areas additional speed zones after you've gone through some sort of traffic analysis or engineering analysis to justify it. So this would be a new chapter that would be specific to speed zones in the city of Millwood. So happy to answer any questions, but probably spend 2 minutes more on that one than needed. So
Any questions for Brian on this one? This is part of accepting that funding. So this will come back to you at for consideration at the November meeting as an ordinance, and it will be a much cleaner copy from that. So that brings us to ordinance 550, which is amending the city council monthly meetings. Mr. Worst.
Simple amendment to section 2.04.01, which is the city code provision that identifies the time and date of the regular meetings for the city council, which is historically read regular meetings of the city council will be held on the second Tuesday of each month beginning at 6 p.m. This is presented to you pursuant to discussion with the council for 2 meetings now, with regular meetings to be held on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month, which was the directive of the council. So happy to answer any questions on that one.
Mr. Senator.
Having a regular meeting, do we need the same agenda, the same type of agenda, for it.
Yeah.
Cause I would oppose that, to have a second city council meeting. I would be in favor of having our normal city council meeting with this agenda item, and a second meeting as more of a workshop type agenda.
Yeah.
So are they both considered city council meetings?
They are.
And we could internally say the second one is going to be a workshop format.
This goes back to some of the discussions we had with the council, which is it's gonna be your meeting to define as we go forward on how you wanna do it. You're just gonna have to meet the Open Meeting Act requirements, which first and foremost, this establishes as a regular meeting and does provide you a little bit more flexibility to your agenda. Special meeting notice, keep in mind, you gotta post within 24 hours of the meeting and you are locked in on what that special meeting agenda says. So it's a regular meeting, this is the notice to the public that says, hey, council's gonna meet, they're gonna have business. And that agenda can be a little bit more generalized or not as rigorous as this. It also gives you the opportunity, if you need to have a two-touch system in the same month on emergency type or urgent types of matters. But I think what's important to understand is I don't, and at least what I've heard from the staff and the mayor is, we're not gonna, I think what the plan is to proceed forward with the same type of agenda for the first meeting, but I'm not sure that the staff is gonna necessarily set an agenda for you for the second meeting. That's gonna be some more work on the council's part to identify what you wanna do with those second meetings going forward, so.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
Well, even the first meeting, I think, if you guys were in agreement, we wouldn't need another set of staff reports the second,
Right.
you know,
Yeah, I know
like
that.
even that first meeting, I don't think needs to
Yeah.
completely replicate everything, but more just provide us opportunity to put together structure for those future
Like a
ones.
workshop. I think
Yeah.
that's the idea.
Yeah, you'll need to give some adequate notice as to what the workshop topic might be or what you wanna discuss. Please keep in mind that even if it's not an agendized meeting with a rigorous, this is a pretty rigorous agenda, by the way, tonight. Even if there's not a rigorous agenda like this, there still is staff work that goes into preparing that meeting. So if the plan is to develop the idea for the workshop on the Thursday or Friday before the second regular meeting, it's just not realistic to expect that you're gonna have a full informed dialogue at that point. So be thinking as this comes back to you for second touch, what if there are things that you wanna start identifying for those second meeting workshops, because I think we just did an internal estimate of what goes into a regular, again, this agenda's on steroids, but what goes on into a regular meeting agenda. And I think excluding Lisa and Kenzie's type of work that you guys do, which is substantial, far more than the rest of us, there's probably easily somewhere between a 5 to 12 hour time investment collectively outside of what you guys do, and we didn't even survey Amanda, because.
Yeah, we did. I have it, that was
Okay.
me.
I was thinking more on the staffing reports and the things like that, and the legal side that goes into it. But we wanna make sure that second meeting is worthwhile and informative. There's a little bit of concern about what you guys might need in terms of making that second meeting informative and worthwhile, that we just wanna make sure that we're preparing to accommodate.
Please.
I have a slight concern from the clerk position as for the fourth Tuesday. Planning commission is the fourth Wednesday. The last Wednesday, which 90% of the time is the fourth Wednesday. That's going to be back-to-back meetings for the clerk. That's gonna be back-to-back preparation that week before for the clerk. So that could be a lot. Having them that close together, not just for 2 meetings, 2 nights in a row, but also for the preparation of those set meetings. That's that whole week before is the prep week. And so that is a concern for us.
Yeah, full candor from my side, I'm working on my schedule for that fourth that second meeting of each month. Right now, my schedule's not open. We do have another attorney that started. I don't wish to throw her to the wolves yet for a meeting to run on her own, but you might see Savannah at the next few meetings. We are scheduled to meet with the mayor from an introductory purpose Thursday. And she has been doing Millwood work. She's just not sat in this chair and told you what you're doing is wrong, right, or otherwise, and that's something I'm not ready to put her in that position yet. So, but we'll get you staffed.
I do think also that with the desire to have meeting flexibility, I think staff would support this comment is that there are a lot of people out there that look for these agendas. And so we have that hard and fast rule that we post these agendas final on, or as final as they are on Friday. I think folks would expect to see the same thing because it's a regular meeting. So it can't be too freeform up until the end. There has to be some level of identification of what's gonna go on at that meeting that prior week, and needs to be set and needs to be properly noticed out. And by noticed out, the agenda's out there on the web, everybody knows what's going on. So otherwise, they're gonna just get called going, well, there's no, what's on this agenda, what's this? Well, we don't know what we have yet. I also think that as to Kelly's point, the purpose of this second meeting was to be able to, during month periods, in the necessary, if the intent is to touch, have that second touch within that month so that things weren't a fire drill every month on some of this stuff. So yeah, there are gonna be some things that'll need to be identified that if, hey, we need to get this knocked out before the second Tuesday meeting, we need to get that in there. It just can't be a strict workshop session because we have to have those.
I think that sounds good. I think that we could always change this back too.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, so if you don't have a topic to discuss at the second one, you cancel it too.
Okay.
There is some, I mean, not trying to discourage a second meeting, there's some benefit to that because it's regularly scheduled, people know it's gonna happen. But also, if you don't have anything to have a meeting for, don't do it.
Right.
That's the other side.
And it does provide that flexibility in the agenda during the meeting because as an example, our regular meeting next month is not a regular meeting, it's gonna be a special meeting, and so that agenda is gonna be hard and fast and fixed for that meeting. Even though we're gonna look at it as a regular meeting, we're not gonna be able to move things around on that. So that at least having it in the ordinance as a regular meeting does give the city that flexibility.
Dan, what do you think?
With the clarifications, I like that. And the fact that we can shape that second meeting as a workshop, we're not having it all.
It prevents, or potentially prevents tonight, right? Where we have a huge agenda, 9 o'clock probably, right? I mean, I think it gives us flexibility.
Yeah, but I agree though, we should probably have like some parameters, like in my mind, if there's literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 action items for first reading and 2 public hearings, that should just be an automatic, we'll separate those between, those months should be separated over 2 different meetings.
I agree.
And honestly, October, November, and December of every year, we know are always gonna be these big, long budget meetings and stuff, let's just have those, that's a 1 quarter you got taken care of what we could be doing.
I agree.
And then during the summer, I would say potentially, I don't know if you guys, I think we should always have water meetings, like at least twice a year, that is just like Amy Sumner or somebody, we can be bringing people in for talks, deeper dives and such. I mean, there is a way to fill it up without Oh, please, David, give us the report you just gave us 2 weeks ago again.
Yeah, we don't need staff to give us, double reports.
I thought I was that good.
Yeah, you were.
I mean, it was exciting.
If you choose to.
How's it feel to be a lawyer? How's it feel to be a lawyer?
Okay, Sean, your thoughts?
I'm willing to give it a try.
Okay.
I just think we need to have enough advance notice on what we're gonna workshop
Yeah.
to know whether we're gonna schedule it or cancel it. Do not put staff under the gun to try to get documents together and get it on the website.
Okay.
I mean, it takes a lot of time,
Right.
and we're kinda short on staff right now.
I do,
Yeah, and I suppose we could identify, at the, for example, this meeting, we could identify, we'd like to get into more detail on something. That may be on here or may not be on here.
Right.
So we can get kind of give a heads up already.
I think if Kelly's plan had been in effect for this meeting should never have been scheduled with all of this on one agenda. I mean, you knew just the second you got it, like, oh my gosh,
Right.
this is a 3-hour meeting.
Yeah, it'd be easy just to take a look for
So
2
let's move
meetings.
on.
Okay, sounds good.
I will just make, I'm not gonna be here very much longer, I will just make one comment to city council. The other thing, what I would suggest to you folks is, I understand, and specifically, I know Andy, these roles aren't, you know, you're not employed by the city. They are people doing this out of the goodness of their heart because somebody has to sit in these chairs. That's part of the government system we have. But I would strongly caution the council that a fallback to these meetings cannot be remote. If staff is gonna be required to be here, somebody has to be here to run it, somebody has to be here to do it. The council needs to have the respect, if at all possible, to also be live at these meetings. I'm not saying that people abuse the remote, but you can't divide up you can't divide it up into little bits and then say, well, you know, I'm just gonna stay at home. I think folks need to make the concerted effort to be present. That's when Andy's down there on the bridge, down there on McNary Dam, that comes up. And I do that too, and I have no problems with that. But I don't think it's something where, well, we'll do the second meeting remotely.
Right.
Alright, so that closes off ordinance 550, that will come back. Did anybody see any changes on that need to be made? Come back in the form it is for consideration? Cause I know we have a few edits on the speed limit, but we don't, anything in there jump out to anybody? Okay, so that will come back for consideration in November. Next one is ordinance 552, regulating public camping.
Okay, I'll open this up, and this has a few nits that need to be cleaned up from a second look as well, and this, it's up to you in terms of how you wanna approach this. None of the nits would be substantive changes, there's some cleanup, there's a reference to a city manager in there. This ordinance was drafted, similar to what the city of Spokane Valley's, ordinance is. The city has, and definitely, during certain months of the year, the city has experienced a higher level of camping on public property or storage of private property and the roadways. We've had nothing on our books that allows the city to address those issues. In large part because the case law in the Ninth Circuit was really, if you didn't have shelter for an individual who was unhoused or homeless, you couldn't take any action in terms of removing them or their possessions or anything of that nature. The Martin v. Boise case law. That was changed with the Supreme Court in 2024. We've kind of, I don't want to say we've sat back, but we've kind of wanted to see where the case law goes in that direction. There's been some different types of challenges to jurisdictions that have taken action to remove homeless encampments or camping on public property, sit-lie laws on sidewalks, things like that. but I think we're comfortable, at least from the legal standpoint, of advancing an ordinance for city discussion, council discussion as well as public discussion as well on it. It's I'll readily admit it's a topic that's not only legal but emotional and policy, right? And can venture into the political. And so I raise that because I want to make sure that we talk about it from the standpoint of what's right for Millwood, what's right for Millwood legally, and what's right for Millwood from a policy standpoint, all while the community is still working through its unhoused accommodation issues. And at the same time, we would be, the administration would still be needing to work with the sheriff's department in terms of how this would be enforced. The reason we went to the Spokane Valley Code and plagiarized, borrowed, is they're familiar with that, with the enforcement of that code. We think it's better to remain consistent with the law that the law enforcement agency is enforcing in the neighboring jurisdiction than to jump out and do something that's a little bit too different than that. So happy to answer any questions, allow council to discuss. This is simply in a draft form that will come back with a few nits to be revised as we advance it forward. But it has been something that's been discussed at various times in city council over pre-pandemic even.
So at one point, we were entering an interlocal agreement with like a consortium for the county. Do you remember that? And what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go find it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just kind of, so that's just not an option anymore, correct?
That's correct.
All right.
It was a great conceptual idea, but when you started putting the different jurisdictions in the room and how you're going to figure it out, everybody's an optimist until they can't be.
I just want to dissolved.
I don't. It's not dissolved. It still exists. I just don't know that there's action that way.
A lot of it just has to do with the budget realities that a lot of the jurisdictions are facing. You have a lot of they rely on federal dollars, these HUD dollars. And these HUD dollars have, particularly for cities like Spokane, have dried up. And so you just, as good of a will as there is to look at this, the funding's not there, and there is if we're getting to the root cause of it, there is a huge argument within this community as to, is it treatment or is it housing first? And until that argument is settled in some way holistically within this county, you're not going to make progress on dealing with unhoused populations. You have one set of people that believes that folks need to be either offered a treatment program or potentially placed in a treatment program, and however you want to define placed in, that's a lot. And then you have another section of the community that says individuals need to be housed first, and then you can begin treatment processes. Both of them are very expensive. Both of them require completely different ways of addressing our homeless population. Both of them require a lot of stand-up services. The mental health, substance abuse, all that sort of stuff, domestic violence that peace officers are not wholly trained for, or we're going to build houses. Well, how you look at Spokane, we can't get houses built just for people who got a loan.
Just to meet the comp plan.
Yeah, so, yeah, Dan.
So is this subject something that we should have a more open discussion about? I mean, it's black and white, kind of. But as we mentioned, there's probably some other feelings out there. So should we have not a second read, but a 1.5 reads?
Well, here's
a little bit more detail.
The reason why this is coming before you is I think our public works folks would say that we have had over the last year quite a few more confrontations with individuals who have
I can't pinpoint it down to 1 year, it's been bad for the last 5 years.
So we are experiencing our park workers, our people in the city. We've got folks that are coming in. We also have a surrounding jurisdiction that has this ordinance. This ordinance puts pressure on those individuals. We don't have this ordinance here. And should we have should we generate a Millwood first policy for maybe, but the realities are we've got City of the Valley on 3 sides. We have contract law enforcement with Spokane County Sheriff, and our policies potentially need to mimic those much larger entities if we want to be able to potentially address the issue or have some way to address an issue from individuals that become a problem. Because I think a couple times in the park last year, we had some rather confrontational individuals.
Yeah, we have some spicy people that we deal with on occasion.
And what is, I think even your homeless advocates would say your homeless are becoming more spicy, to use that phrase, and it is definitely something that I don't think we should always be putting the staff in that way, and then it just becomes that kind of, especially in Millwood with small staff, it becomes whack-a-mole. You get they just move around and find a place, and luckily they haven't found anywhere other than Argonne Bridge, haven't found anywhere down by the river to start hanging out or anything.
Can I just real quick to answer Dan's question and back to Sean real quick?
Yeah.
We weren't intentionally trying to create a workshop topic, but when I was working on this ordinance, I fully anticipated that this would not be an ordinance for you for a simple 2-touch. So, it wasn't intentional to say here's a workshop topic, but I think that's kind of where you were going, and I think that makes perfect sense. My apologies, Councilmember BC, go ahead.
Oh, that's great. It is unfortunate, but we do need to do something, and so I applaud you for starting this. Now, if this were knitted together and cleaned up, as Brian said, from your standpoint as public utilities, since Kevin brought you up, is this something your staff feels like would make your world better?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, I hadn't looked at it, and I just circled it and said, look at this right here, because I think.
I've heard testimony about what you guys have experienced in the park.
And there's been times where we thought we could do stuff, and then Sheriff tell us we couldn't do that. So I think it would benefit us greatly. And like Kevin was saying, if other jurisdictions around us have it and we don't, somehow the word is going to get out and we're going to get swarmed with them, with no way to combat it.
That is what happened before the Boise case laws, is the neighboring jurisdictions had taken regulation, and we had a summer of encampment in the park and, parked vehicles along very narrow roadways that we were told by law enforcement, you have nothing on your books that we can enforce.
And we have our deputy. And that opens up a different level of being able to enforce when Deputy Ball is on duty, that some of these problems, particularly for individuals that are confrontational, having this can allow us to address those because we'd actually have something.
And by the term enforce, let's be clear. There's penalties that can flow from this, but I think the community law enforcement approach has been enforcement is the last alternative. If you have something on the books that they can go out and say, here's what consequences could flow to you from simply engaging in this activity, that has a tendency to help people want to either move on, go find help, or do, access resources or other opportunities that are out there. And I think we just don't have that.
Well, we had somebody even like last month or a month and a half ago, that Deputy Ball did ultimately was the person who mediated or whatever. And that person's not around anymore. But do know that when Deputy Ball does that, that takes him offline for like 8 hours, because that was one of the things when we were doing our walkthrough with the community is, but we don't see you. But I actually addressed that exact person you were talking about, and it took me offline for 8 hours. So then you don't see me that whole day and stuff. And that was a big aha, I thought, for even myself. I was like, oh yeah, that makes complete sense.
Right now, and I've had numerous conversations with the sheriffs. In fact, this afternoon, right before the meeting, I was talking to one about it, and literally the only thing they can do right now is if we catch them and can videotape them breaking a sprinkler head or vandalizing something, then they can trespass them from the property. But until that happens, if they're just sleeping in a corner up by the wall, but Susie and her little daughter's kind of spooked by them and doesn't want to play, or they're over there pretending to be air ninjas or whatever they do, and people are kind of going away, there's nothing we can really do about it. And so it's driving families and kids and stuff away from our public spaces, and they're allowed to stay, which is not right in my opinion.
Well, I think something like this is important, but I do wish we could have a reigniting of this consortium, because the truth is a city with a budget of $3 million is never going to be able to solve this problem by itself. So I kind of wish that there was a more regional approach of some sort.
And I would suggest that if you can get the city of Spokane, the city of Spokane Valley, and the county all in one room and have them play nice together, I can't remember the last time that I saw Spokane and Spokane County in particular want to play
on this issue. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, all of everybody's an optimist until they're not, right? The goal of this was to find solutions, to find ways to address the problems and the circumstances. And then when the discussion started to happen, really what it came down to, well, your jurisdiction's policy is what's creating that issue. No, your jurisdiction's policies, and it goes back to what Kevin was saying. And so the, classic interest-based bargaining lost its place in that process. So.
And to be clear, it is more than the electeds. You have your community advocates, you have everyone else. There are lots of people with various vested interests in seeing in this particular issue. And I don't know if you go to those meetings, the seats at the people with seats at the table, at that point, when you have 40, 50, 60 people there with seats at the table, but you've got a few people controlling the purse strings, it really gets, nothing gets done. Nothing gets done. There's basically some county commissioners, there's the mayor, council president, and council members of City of Spokane, and a few of the council members at City of the Valley. And that's the people that control everything. But everybody there, when you start to bring ideas out and say, okay, here's something that the three of us, and by the three of us, we're just talking the big three, the three of us can agree on, then everybody starts jumping in with their 2 cents on why that's not going to work or how that's going to do this or anything like that. And I don't want to point at sides, but then that ends up getting blown up. And opportunities for collaboration are going. What it comes down to is so much of what is being done here with especially this issue is about ideology, not about ideas. It becomes a place that people can plant their flag and they don't want to get anything done. Because that means you might have to take your flag down a notch to get it done.
We can workshop it.
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
I just wanted to get this with Brian. I want to get this back out here because I know that I talked to Kyle, talked to Matt, people working in the park. It is something that's coming up. I know we've noticed few more individuals around, and it's just something that if we're not sadly, if we're not consistent with City of the Valley, we're gonna have some problems.
So Brian, this is exactly what they're using as far as enforcement language and everything else.
That's why you still see a city manager reference in there. Thanks for calling it out, Sean.
Nice. Nice. Yes. Alright, so that will come, so I think what we should do with this one is bring it back at the next meeting, and if you like the ordinance, you may consider it. If you want to have a greater level of rumination on it, and you pass the two-touch, you can move it to a workshop if you want, or something like that. But city will bring it to council in a final form for consideration at the next meeting.
That sounds good.
Is it more workshopping the issue or workshopping the ordinance?
Yeah, I don't think we need to workshop it.
Touching that one with a stick.
Yeah, let's bring it back.
I mean, I'd bring it back, but we should workshop the issue.
We can.
Overall.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, cause this is not gonna solve everything.
No.
This just merely makes us consistent and does not makes us a magnet for people
Exactly.
who wanna
It protects
circumvent.
us.
We'll still have an issue
Right.
that we should be workshopping and
Exactly.
having extended
Yeah,
conversation around.
Yeah, absolutely to your point. This is, the only thing this solves is it solves an ability for us to potentially enforce on somebody who is being very, very disruptive or something like that, that is a threat. It is not the issue.
First tool of your toolbox.
Yes. Okay, so next one is the Winterfest special event permit. Lisa or Kyle or someone, anybody,
It's
it's
the same as last year.
same as it ever was.
Yeah, permit is in order.
Is Andy gonna be Santa again?
I don't know about that. Andy, are you gonna be Santa?
Right now, I'm still trying to figure out all the numbers Dave threw out.
Okay,
Keep working on it.
hopefully you'll have that figured out by December.
He's back there with his calculator. Alright, so this one is-
It's more than a calculator, Kevin. I got the whole wall.
Get a bunch of string. Okay, so this will come back for consideration at the next meeting, and we took care of Urban, and so that is our action items for first read. Now we have our items for consideration, which is the consent agenda consisting of these items. I'm gonna read them out.
I make a motion we accept the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Did anybody want to take anything separately from this? So not seeing or hearing anything, so all in favor of the consent agenda as presented, please say aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Oh, thank you, Eddie. Any opposed? Hearing none opposed, consent agenda is passed unanimously. Next is the interlocal agreement between Scraps and the city of Millwood for animal protection services. Brian.
In here. Yeah, this was presented at the last meeting for first reading. We've gone through and it is in substantially similar format as what was presented previously. There's a few wordsmithing items. There isn't what was in, I think the one provision that's missing from the previous agreement on the county's part is there isn't an express insurance requirement on the county on this. I know that they're insured, I know they maintain insurance, so I'm wondering if this is just a risk manager driver from the county that we're the sole service provider of this. Why should we impose an insurance requirement on us that creates a contractual obligation? I don't think that should prevent you from approving this interlocal. To the extent you don't approve the interlocal or it's not otherwise executed between the county and the city, you are back in the business of doing your own animal control services. So I don't want to say it's take it or leave it, but
that's why Matt left.
Yeah, it's kind of take it or leave it.
What it is net?
Yeah, there's nothing here that causes legal heartburn to prevent you from moving
I
forward.
make a motion that we agree, we approve the interlocal agreement with Scraps for animal protection services.
Is there a second on that?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion regarding the interlocal between city and scraps? Hearing or seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Thank you, Andy. Hearing none opposed, I will execute said agreement.
Did you vote?
No, I said
Oh,
aye.
yes, we got it.
Making
No,
sure.
it was.
I read it last year,
Got it,
but.
yeah, perfect.
Okay, so I will execute said agreement and then turn back.
I wasn't looking up, sorry.
So that concludes our action items for this evening, and so reports. Getting late, Dave, do you have anything to report?
I need 2 signatures on a big pile of stuff.
Okay. Our clerk, treasurer, public records, Lisa, anything?
I need 4 signatures on a small pool. So that, I bet y'all get mine first.
You're better than
Yeah.
me.
No, real quick, we've had a very, very large public records request received regarding the Empire speed humps. It's, I've never seen anything like it. Anyway, still working on code enforcement, the abatement that you had agreed to do, the property owners sold it to a flipper, so they're working on getting that, so we may have avoided having to do that, which is going to be very nice. We sent out, Kinsey, got the door hangers ready for the 10 or 12? 12 outstanding people that had not done their backflow testing. Matt and Kyle took those out. We have had everyone contact us with scheduled dates, except for 2 homes that are vacant. So those will be the ones that will be getting turned off tomorrow, but they're vacant, which is probably a good thing. They're getting turned off anyway, since we're going into winter. And the only other thing, we've been answering an increasing number of emails and calls regarding the Argonne Congestion Project and the Empire Speed Humps. Kenzie has been doing a lot of training. She went to public records training and is working on some other training, and just know she's picking things up so quickly, and she's an absolute pleasure to work with. So, and the other stuff is just little, so I'm done.
You're not pleasure to work with.
Oh, Dave's a pleasure.
Except for the numbers in the spreadsheet stuff.
That is a great segue into Kyle and facilities. Kyle.
Somebody say Argonne Project?
Yeah.
So last week they got finished up with the red center islands for all the little turn pockets and everything. Today they patched back the asphalt around those areas and the remaining areas inside of the railroad right away. Also today, Frank Gurney was out setting the concrete barriers to protect pedestrians from traffic closer to the north end of the project. Tomorrow the stripers will be out doing final areas that need striped, and signs will go in as well. Crews will spend the next couple of days addressing some issues that arose on the grade elevations to the entry ramp to IEP at the Liberty Road entrance. There ended up, because of our trail grade and all that stuff, there ended up being a very abrupt entrance into IEP, and it wasn't gonna work. Went back to WashDOT. They agreed that it was a scenario that was imposed by our project and that they were gonna pay to redo that area. So they're gonna be working on building that up so it's a more palatable ramp if they do have to use that entrance.
On their property.
Yes, yeah. Friday is scheduled to be the big day. All the traffic control will come down. Argonne will be opened back up to 2 lanes in both directions. Everything will pretty much be done with the exception of the signalization and traffic lights. Also Friday, we're going to sit down with the engineers and the inspector along with members of Liberty Concrete and go over punch list items and our final expectations for the project. Moving forward, it sounds like the signal cabinets and miscellaneous parts will continue to trickle in over the next couple months in November and December, with a tentative set date with the railroad and Liberty to come back out on the 12th of January, weather permitting, to do the remaining traffic signal poles, the signalization stuff, and the pedestrian lights. They're expecting that work to take approximately a week. In other news, I've been studying the last 2 years' public work budgets and met with Dave to work on my up-and-coming 26 budget. Matt and I had to dig up a mainline water valve at Butler and Trent yesterday to adjust the valve box that sits around the valve because we couldn't get our key onto it, and we're gonna need to be able to shut that valve off when they start their intertie there. So we got that all accessible again. The guys have been busy doing final mowing and are gonna start prepping for leaf season later this week. I had originally thought about starting leaf season this Monday the 20th, but looking at the weather and how things are going, I don't think there's gonna be any substantial piles out there. So it'll probably be the very end of the week, but most definitely Monday the 27th, we should be out sucking leaves. I think that's all I got.
So Friday,
Yes, Friday.
hip hip huzzah. So, Matt, utilities please.
Okay, this past month I took gross alpha samples at Oak Park. Those came back good, just a routine thing. Also radium 228 at Oak Park and Butler. Still waiting on those results. Our routine samples, I hate taking this time of year. Our first one came back good, the second one wasn't. It was just coliform. So we had to do repeat samples, upstream and downstream, and those came back with coliform too. So I contacted DOH, and we just got to do a, what do they call it? Like a tier 1 assessment, just kind of looking at our system and stuff, where contamination could have came from, but I'm pretty confident it's from sprinkler blowouts. So next month we just go back to our regular testing and life as usual, I guess. You just do a little assessment on it. Today we put Old Park as our lead pump since irrigation season's over and people aren't watering that much anymore. Pacific Power was out today doing routine load tests on New Park and Old Park generators. And they also did routine maintenance on load testing for the lift station.
Can I ask a question about the chloroforms? So I know that it is from the blowout, cause we had that like, I think it was last year or 2 years ago. But is it safe to drink?
Yes.
Okay.
It's just
Cause I've been down in it for a couple
it's just
hours
an
now.
indicator for E. coli. It's no.
Okay.
That's why the DOH I think doesn't take it that seriously. That you just continue with routine samples and just kind of assess where it may have come from, but pretty confident we know where it is.
Thank you. Alright, any questions? So, not seeing any, Amanda, planning please.
Our report's in the packet, any questions?
Awesome. Alright. Legal, Mr. Worst.
Just real quick, there was some discussion at recent meetings about addressing expenditure authorities. We went back in the council actions, looking for resolutions, ordinances, purchasing policies, authorizations. What we believe is that in connection with the emergency powers declaration with the pandemic and COVID, there was an expenditure authority that was lifted at that point, or that was increased. But that order was, when the emergency was over, the city council extinguished that order. There is nothing on the books right now that has an expenditure authority of $50,000.
Oh.
So we're going to begin, I'm still working on the purchasing policies, which will have those various expenditure authorities for you to review, evaluate, change, modify when it's in draft form. But just want to come back to you. That's why it's not on the agenda, because there was nothing to address at this point.
So it's just change of practice back now.
Yeah, it was changed back, presumably whenever the order was made, so. But we don't have a resolution that recognizes any sort of increase or decrease. So I don't know if it was really bantered or what it was.
I think what it was at one of those first meetings, it was a verbal, because we weren't really sure how we were going to be meeting or what we needed to have authority on or anything. So it was part of the emergency declaration that we rolled out. This just in my memory, because I'll be honest with you, I never remember ever signing anything in 12 years that gave me $50,000 in authorization policy.
I even went back and looked through all the minutes back in that time frame and the emergency proclamation. I thought maybe it was voted on in the minutes and it was recorded. I found nothing. And I looked longer than I probably should have.
Well, I'm glad we resolved it because it was clearly a thing that was out there because, you know, so we're closing the loop. Thank you.
I got, we are, Dave is doing a excellent lift on putting together the budgets in communication with our managers. And, beyond that, the only last thing that I am, in any way engaged with as I kind of wrap things up over the next couple months is there will be one set of meetings I'm going to have with a few individuals to begin to try and figure out a sense of where that City of Spokane excise tax is on wastewater treatment is sitting, because with their budget hole, that would be a very desirable way for them to begin to look at plugging that budget hole. So I kind of want to figure that out before the end with a few folks that at various places. So that's kind of the last little thing I'm working on. Everything else is pretty much wrapped up and put to bed, other than working with Brian on kind of putting some of this policy stuff forward. So that's where we're at there. Council information. Was there anything in the pack for council information? Alright, so we don't have the so we have nothing. Now we're at public remarks, which is the opportunity for citizens to address the council either in person or by submitting their remarks. We ask that our speakers limit themselves to 2 minutes and follow our citizen participation guidelines. And so our first two are gone, and so we have first up is Tina Seifert. Ms. Seifert.
Thank you. It's jamming time. Tina Seifert, 10507 East Empire. I got a couple of things to address on the ordinance 552 for the camping. I know I found some typos.
Yeah.
No, but I figured you got that. In regards to the park, the hours are 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Just a suggestion, maybe do dawn to dusk, especially this time of year, because it's like who wants to be in the park when it's dark. Just thought process to maybe help with that in that regard. Real quick on the wholesale water, obviously this has been one of the things with it being the Butler, that's my area, the Butler well, when they do the tie-in of this, I know that there's going to be some concerns that could come up in the future, is how is that going to affect the pressure and water usage of the people that are pulling up that well? I know it's been brought up before, and it's just going to be one of those things that's going to be brought up again. So just a thought on that. In regards to the interlock agreement, page 3 of 8, which is 462 of the packet, Article 2, Responsibilities of the City, Section 2.1.1. It says that the city may serve the citizens. I know that this is just an initial draft, and that it will be coming down. Which is kind of one of those things, it's like instead of the city may serve the citizens and businesses located within the city first and may regulate, I don't know if there's this suggestion that the city will serve the citizens and the businesses and will regulate the flow of water. Just one of those things. In regards to consideration when you guys are doing the rate increase, and I'm sure that this is just, I might be overthinking it and stuff, when we had the water comp plan and all that stuff, with the rate increases and all of that stuff, hopefully that'll be considered in that. And then I know I'm on a time limit. When the water is billed to urban, where does that apply to? And this is just a thing, it's like, is it gonna be future cost to go into like the future replacements? Readings, all of that stuff, is there gonna be like a little fund up here? Just one of those. And that's what it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next up is Mr. BC, Todd BC.
Easy, East 8610, East South Riverway. Gonna try to go through these things quick. And the first one is on the reduction of speed limit on Argonne. I expect the next meeting from the council members vigorous discussion on the pros and cons of this. Also, the consequences. What are the intended consequences and the unintended consequences? Please give it serious thought. Number two, not only myself, but other people in Millwood have mentioned putting in another gate in the fence over there, and at least one, if not two, gates in the fence. And there's a good case to do that for public safety. The third thing I want to talk about is the farmers market. Last day was last Wednesday, and it wasn't the best year. The numbers were substantially down. That's what I've heard from Shireen. Number 4, a book fair. Book fair is coming on October 18th. So if you're interested in purchasing some books, used books, October 18th, and here's the flyer. You can ask me for it later. Meet the Candidates coming up on October 29th, and some of you in this room will be there, and so please attend Meet the Candidates. And the last thing, the pub crawl. There's going to be a pub crawl right here in downtown historic Millwood on the 25th of October. It's a fundraiser for the class of 2026 at the West Valley High School, fundraiser for them. And it's pretty late. I was going to say it's Taco Tuesday at the Stockwell's, but go or not go. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. So we are now, anybody else like to make public comments? Second call for public comments. Third and final call? All right, that brings us to our council remarks. Mr. Stravens.
Thank you, staff.
Mr. Sander. No comments. Mr. Culler.
Same, thanks to staff for all the hard work.
Ms. BT.
Thanks to staff, and I had 4 items, but I'm gonna cut it down to 1. But I was fortunate to be asked by Chris Majors and Shireen to attend the Places Conference in Gig Harbor, and this is in support of the Main Street agenda that we've got going on. We accepted affiliate status, so that's moving forward with our application. This is a 4-pronged program intended to provide economic revitalization, beautification, and also how do we maintain our historic district, promotion. And so I was really kind of blown away. I'd only been on the periphery up until this conference because there was no one else to accept our affiliate status. But I was really excited, and I'm looking forward to it. I had read the plan, I knew what our businesses were saying, but I had not yet experienced what the overall umbrella is for this program. So a lot more to come on that.
Let's see.
Andy?
I don't have much. I believe the next SWAC meeting is maybe tomorrow or Thursday. I'll be out of town. I'll see if I can do it remotely, depending upon where we're at with our project. Other than that, thank you everybody for keeping it together for us.
Thank you very much. So we don't have any announcements. And so our next meeting, which is our city council regular meeting, but it is a special meeting that has been moved to November 12th, so Wednesday at 6 p.m. here. The agenda will be set, and that will be that. So at this time, we are at item 16. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
I make a
You can second it.
second.
Yay! Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. This
Aye.
meeting is adjourned.